وحي الله إنه نعم قد أذنت لك. فدخل جبرائيل معنا تحت الكساء فقال لأبي إن الله قد أوحى إليكم يقول إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم رجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. اللهم صل على محمد. فقال علي لأبي يا رسول الله أخبرني ما لجلوسنا هذا تحت الكساء من الفضل عند الله. فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وآله يا علي والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة ناجيا ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا إلا ونزلت عليهم الرحمة وهفت بهم الملائكة واستغفرت لهم إلى أن يتفرقوا. فقال علي عليه السلام إذا والله فزنا وفز شيعتنا ورب الكعبة. فقال أبي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله يا علي والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيا ما دخل خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا وفيهم مهموم إلا وفرج الله همه ولا مغموم إلا وكشف الله غمه ولا طالب حاجة إلا وقضى الله حاجته. فقال علي عليه السلام إذا والله فزنا وسعدنا وكذلك شيعتنا فازوا وسعدوا في الدنيا والآخرة ورب الكعبة. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
بارے دیگر نعرے صلوات. بآواز بلند نعرے صلوات. اللہ
السلام علیکم.
وعلیکم السلام.
صلوات پر محمد آل محمد.
اللہم صلی علی محمد.
مانوس ہوں اتنا تیرے کربل کی زمین سے، مانوس ہوں اتنا تیرے کربل کی زمین سے، میں دفن کہیں ہوں مگر اٹھوں گا وہیں سے، میں دفن کہیں ہوں مگر اٹھوں گا وہیں سے، کربل سے نجف تک ہو سفر آخری میرا، کربل سے نجف تک ہو سفر آخری میرا، اور اس کے سوا کچھ نہیں مانگوں گا کسی سے، اور اس کے سوا کچھ نہیں مانگوں گا کسی سے، اللہم صلی علی محمد. یکتا ہے فقط احمد مرسل کا گھرانہ، یکتا ہے فقط احمد مرسل کا گھرانہ، اللہ بھی ملتا ہے تو ملتا ہے یہیں سے، اللہ بھی ملتا ہے تو ملتا ہے یہیں سے، کربل کربل تیری مٹی کا اعجاز ہے ورنہ، کربل تیری مٹی کا اعجاز ہے ورنہ، ملتی ہی نہیں خاک شفا اور کہیں سے، ملتی ہی نہیں خاک شفا اور کہیں سے، تیروں کے مسلح پہ تیرا سجدہ آخر، تیروں کے مسلح پہ تیرا سجدہ آخر، ہوتا ہے عیاں روز نمازی کی جبیں سے، ہوتا ہے عیاں روز نمازی کی جبیں سے، بیعت کے طلبگار کو یہ یاد رہے گا، بیعت کے طلبگار کو یہ یاد رہے گا، زندہ ہے حسین ابن علی ایک نہیں سے، زندہ ہے حسین ابن علی ایک نہیں سے، جب چاند نکلتا ہے محرم کا سرے شام، جب چاند نکلتا ہے محرم کا سرے شام، ایک ہوک سے اٹھتی ہے حسن قلب زمیں سے، ایک ہوک سے اٹھتی ہے حسن قلب زمیں سے، مانوس ہوں اتنا تیرے کربل کی زمین سے، میں دفن کہیں ہوں مگر اٹھوں گا وہیں سے، صلوات المولا۔
شمع سے شمع جلے سلسلہ جاری رہے، ہم رہے یا نہ رہے یہ عزاداری رہے، شمع سے شمع جلے اپنی لشنوں کو سکھاتے، راہ ماتم کا ہنر سینے در سینہ کرے، بس یہ عزاداری سفر جیسے حالاتوں بھی ہو، یہ عمل جاری رہے، ہم رہے یا نہ رہے یہ عزاداری رہے، شمع سے شمع جلے لا کے بدلے یہ زمانے کی روشیار موسم، ایک پل بھی نہ رکے اشک ہزار ماتم، ماتم شہر کا جنون زین پر تاری رہے، ہم رہے یا نہ رہے یہ عزاداری رہے شمع سے شمع جلے تم مگر کی ایر شبیر ہو یہ یاری رہے چاہے اس غم کے لیے سر بھی کٹے گر بھی جلے حرمت فرش ادا جان سے پیاری رہے ہمراہ یا نہ رہے یہ عزاداری رہے شمع سے شمع جلے
دیگر نعرے صلوات
اعوذ باللہ من الشیطان الرجیم بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم قل هو اللہ احد اللہ الصمد لم یلد ولم یولد ولم یکن لہ کفوا احد صلوات کچھ الفاظ جسارت کروں گا اجازت فرمانا دو کہ دس از الوداع مجلس ہے لیکن ابھی ہمارے بچے نے پڑھا ہے کہ یہ سلسلہ جاری و ساری ہے ہم سارا سال امام کا انتظار کرتے ہیں لیکن وہ بہت جلدی ہم سے چلے جاتے ہیں لیکن وہ جو ذکر ہے ان کا ہمارے ساتھ رہتا ہے یہ ایک ایسی یونیورسٹی ہے کہ every year we renew our allegiance and marifat to understand Ahl Bayt and so 2.5 months we attend the classes under the supervision of ہمارے certified علماء کرام اور administrators just like Ali Bhai and other. This is actually a great sabab to everyone and inshallah ta'ala we should continue take the message of Imam alayhi salam, Pancham Pak Ba Imam Chaudah Muslim alayhi salam, especially Widaye Imam Ali alayhi salam.
نعرے حیدری
Ya Ali. The reason is ابھی میں سن رہا تھا کہ میں نے تھوڑی سی جسارت بھی کی تھی کہ یہ شیعہ ازم ہے یہ ایک فرقہ نہیں ہے یہ this is a real Islam and Islam actually real Islam from Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam again I don't want to take too much time from Maulana so yeah just I wanted to say something yes this is the last majlis but not the last majlis so because kul erzan Karbala kul yawm Ashura
نعرے حیدری محمد و آل محمد صلوات
اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد
بآواز بلند نعرے صلوات
اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد آپ نے یہ مرثیہ پہلے بھی سنا ہوگا لیکن دیکھیں یہ ایک ذکر امام ہے جتنی many time ہم سنیں گے اتنا ہی اس میں ایک امپریشن اور اس کا امپیکٹ پڑتا ہے مجرائی خلق میں ان آنکھوں نے کیا کیا دیکھا مجرائے خلق میں مجرائے خلق میں ان آنکھوں نے کیا کیا دیکھا دیکھا مجرائے خلق میں نے دیکھا عالم شاہ کو آلودہ خون میں نے دیکھا عالم شاہ کو آلودہ خون میں نے عباس کو بے جان لب دریا دیکھا مجرائے خلق میں نے دیکھا سر کا گلا خون میں تر میں نے دیکھا سر کا گلا خون میں تر میں نے زخمی علی اکبر کا کلیجہ دیکھا مجرائے خلق میں جا کے زینب نے مدینے میں کہا سغرا سے جا کے زینب نے مدینے میں کہا سغرا سے کہوں کس منہ سے کہ پردیس میں کیا کیا دیکھا مجرائے خلق میں ظلم ہے مجرائی سجاد نے کیا کیا دیکھا گھر لٹا قید ہوئے باپ کا لاشا دیکھا مجرائے خلق میں سلام علیکم
ان سب کو السلام علیکم یا علی مدد. ماشاءاللہ زاہد بھائی نے بہت اچھے طریقے سے ایکسپلین کیا کہ یہ جو غم ہے ہماری زندگی کے ساتھ ہے مولا کا، اور ہمارے دعا بھی یہی ہے کہ مولا قبر تک اس غم کو ہم لے کے جائیں اپنی، اور انشاءاللہ اس کے بعد بھی دوسرے جہاں میں بھی مولا کا عزاداری اور پرسہ کریں گے تا قیامت، جب تک ہمارے اندر ہمت طاقت ہے. اور میں اور مزید اس کے آگے نہیں کہہ سکتا، بہت خوبصورت انداز میں زاہد بھائی نے ایکسپلین کیا. I would like to thank Maulana Sayyid Tayyib Muswi for coming here to Bakersfield tonight for this Widaye Majlis. Without any delay, I would like to invite him to the member. Bawaz Buland Nare Salawat.
Please, brothers and sisters, before we begin, please recite Surah Fatiha for your Muslimin. And for those Mu'mineen, Mu'minat that do not have anyone to recite Surah Fatiha on their behalf. Bismillah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي لا يبلغ مدحته القائلون ولا يوصي نعمه العدون ولا يودي حقه المجتهدون الذي لا يدركه بهد الهمم ولا يناله غوص الفتن الذي ليس لصفته حد محدود ولا نات موجود ولا وقت محدود ولا أجل ممدود فترى الخلائق بقدرته ونشر الرياح برحمته ووتد بالسحر ميدان أرض ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وحبيبنا وحبيب رب العالمين بالقاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيت الطيبين الطاهرين واللعن على أدائهم أجمعين من أول يوم ظلمهم إلى قيام يوم الدين أما بعد فقال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه المبين وقوله الحق بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل لا أسألكم عليه أجرا إلا المودة في القربى صدق الله العلي العظيم. Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I know in the Indian Pakistani community this is known as the Widaye Majlis, the last Majlis before the Ayyam of Sa'ada or the days of happiness start. But you have to remember that in the school of the thought of the Ahlul Bayt, it doesn't matter even when the days of happiness come. If you look at the ziyarat, for example, 17 Rabiul Awwal is going to come. One of the ziyarat that are recommended to recite is Ziyarat Imam Hussain. If you look at the Ayyam, the days of happiness, especially the Eid, two great Eids, the two great Eids that every Muslim commemorates, celebrates, Eid al-Adha and Eid al-Fitr. One of the recommended acts is to recite which ziyarat? Ziyarat Imam Hussain. If you see in the school of the thought of the Bayt, there is no day of happiness without remembering Abu Abdullah al-Hussain alayhi salam. There is no day, forget days of happiness, no, a day without remembering Abu Abdullah al-Hussain alayhi salam. Now the problem with us Shias is that after these 2 months, 10 days, 2 months, however many days, it's not that Imam Hussain leaves us, it's that we leave Imam Hussain. Imam Hussain never leaves us. It's that we end up forgetting about Imam Hussain until next Muharram. That's the problem that we have. And when it comes to the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, we'll remember the wiladat of Imam Hussain, we'll remember the shahadat of Imam Hussain, we'll remember the wiladat of Imam Ali, the shahadat of Imam Ali, but the Imam whose shahadat that we're commemorating tonight, a lot of Shias don't know much about him. It's sad, this Imam lived only 28 years in this world. That's it. 28 years. He was Imam for only 5. But in those 28 years, and in those 5 years of Imamat, he did what the others Imam did in their whole lifetime also. What do I mean? If you look at the history, or if you look at the time period that Imam Hassan Askari lived in, you see that there was no Imam that was in prison either at home or in the castle of Banu Abbas other than this 11th Imam. His whole life. From the time Imam Hassan Askari was born to the time that he passed away to his shahadat, he was either under house arrest or he was in jail. There was no Imam before Imam Hassan Askari that their whole life they were imprisoned in this way. It's only this Imam. Even though he was imprisoned his whole life, we see in history what he gave to Shia Islam. What do I mean? One of the things that he gave to us, there's a tafsir, known as Tafsir Imam Hassan Askari. Yes, I understand that some of the ulama, they debate whether or not this tafsir is sahih or not. And that debate will continue to go. But as long as you have ulama that say, no, there's nothing wrong with this tafsir, then we can start talking about this tafsir. Yes, you have ulama on both sides. The ulama who rejected, they rejected on the basis of some of the narrations that are in this tafsir. They don't understand them. They don't understand them. They say, look, this narration here, this is going in respect in this way of ghulu. This is going in that direction. The other ulama, they say, no, this has nothing to do with ghulu. It's just that our understanding of imamat, or your understanding of imamat, is so limited that when you read narrations like this, you think that this is ghulu. What do I mean? For example, some of the miracles that the imams did. When you start reciting about some of the miracles, or when some people start reading about some of the miracles, they say, no, this narration can't be sahih. Why? Miracles are only for prophets. Who said miracles are only for prophets? Karamat are only for prophets? Miracles are only for prophets? No, they're not. Even in history, Islamic history, ghair, non-prophets have done miracles. Non-prophets have done miracles. So when we're talking about the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, who are the epitome of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's creation, the greatest of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's creation, when Nabiullah Isa alayhi salam is less than the Ahlul Bayt and he can commit miracles or he can do miracles, why can't those individuals that are greater than Nabiullah Isa do miracles? Why can't they? When you look at the Ahlul Bayt, the Shia school of thought, they say what? We say what? That the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, they're the greatest after the Holy Prophet. What does this mean? If they're the greatest after the Holy Prophet, then that means that they're greater than the rest of the prophets. They're greater than the rest of the prophets. Why do we say that they're the greatest after the Holy Prophet? Amir al-Mu'mineen, after the Holy Prophet, we say that he's the greatest. Why do we say that? Is there any proof from the Quran? Yes, there is proof from the Quran. What does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say about Amir al-Mu'mineen? When the Banu Najran were coming, or they were given permission to come and debate with them, what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say? Come, call your sons, we'll call our sons. Call your women, we'll call our women. Call your nufus, we'll call all nufus. And when it comes to the word nafs, the tafasir, they say that Amir al-Mu'mineen went as the nafs, or the soul of the Holy Prophet. When he was considered to be the soul, the nafs of the Holy Prophet, then that means that what? He was greater than the rest of the rest of the prophets. Why? Because he's considered to be the self, or the soul of the Holy Prophet. If the Holy Prophet is greater, then that means that his soul is also greater. And Amir al-Mu'mineen happens to be that soul that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was talking about. But when it comes to this Imam, if I was to ask anyone in this gathering, can you tell me one miracle of Imam Hassan Askari alayhi salam? One miracle. Many of us, we would not know. Even though in the Majlis, people speak about them. But what happens? We end up forgetting. Tafsir of Imam Hassan Askari alayhi salam. In this tafsir, he starts off, it's just the tafsir of Surah Al-Hamd, and then almost all of Surah Al-Baqarah. That's it. He wasn't able to finish this tafsir. Why? Because he was martyred. He was martyred. But the tafsir, or the tafsir that is in the book regarding Surah Al-Baqarah, Surah Al-Hamd, you see that it opens up so much to the individual when they start thinking about this. For example, when it comes to Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Imam, he has a narration from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, who narrates from Amir al-Mu'mineen. One of Amir al-Mu'mineen's companions, they come and they sit down on a chair. As soon as they sit down on a chair, the chair is under breaking. When it breaks, the man, he falls down and he hits his head against the table and he starts to bleed. He starts to bleed. Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says to him, do you know why this happened to you? And he goes, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, I don't know. He goes, because you sat on this chair without saying Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. You sat on this chair without saying Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. And the companion goes, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, what does that mean? He goes, whenever you do a task, whenever you start a task, do it in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Begin it with the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so you will be successful. Amir al-Mu'mineen, he goes on to say, look, sometimes bad things happen to good people, and this question is asked a lot, especially when you're in high school, when you're in college. Why is it that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if mu'mineen are good, why is it that bad things happen to good people, and why is it that good things happen to bad people? What kind of justice is this of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And this question is a legitimate question. It gets asked a lot. Amir al-Mu'minin, he answered this question with this incident. He goes, there are times when bad things happen to good people. Why? Because through those bad things, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala erases this individual's sins. Through those incidents, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala erases the individual's sins. And he goes, what do you mean, Ya Amir al-Mu'minin? He goes, I myself heard from the Prophet that before, in the time before, there used to be two kings. One was a mu'min, one was a non-mu'min. Both of those kings, they end up suffering from the same disease. They end up suffering from the same disease. And the cure for that disease was a certain fish that was found in the pond. And in that certain pond, it would only come out in certain time of the year. It so happened that it ended up being winter, and this fish was not found in winter time. The non-Mu'min king, he was suffering. The Mu'min king, he's also suffering. What ended up, the Holy Prophet said, what ended up happening was that even though this fish was not found in that part of the sea, in that time of the year, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he ordered one of the angels to take this fish towards that kingdom so that that king, he could eat that fish and be cured. So what happened that the angel, he took the fish, the guards, they caught the fish. The king, who was non-Mu'min, he ate from that fish and he became fine. He got cured. It so happened that that other king, the Mu'min king, even though he was engrossed in the same disease, those fish, when he was diseased, those fish were supposed to be found in that time period, in that part of the year, in that place. But it so happened that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told the angel, take those fish away from that area. Take those fish away from that area. The fish that were all taken away from that area, that king ended up dying because of that disease. When they ended up dying because of that disease, the people, they went to the Prophet of that time and they asked him, Ya Rasulullah, what is this? That king was a mu'min. He ended up dying because of the same disease, and that other king was a non-mu'min. Why is that? That Prophet, he answered them saying, look, sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes good thing happen to bad people. Why? Because whatever good deed that they did in this world, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants them to have the jaza in this world. He wants them to have the jaza. He wants them to have the reward of that good deed in this world, so when they come into the next world, they'll have nothing. They'll have nothing. And sometimes he has bad things happen to good people. Why? Because they've made some sort of mistake. They made a mistake. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants them to be punished for that mistake in this world, so when they come to the next, there will be no punishment from that mistake. There will be no punishment for that mistake. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. This narration is found where? Tafsir Imam Hassan Askari al-Islam. Tafsir of Imam Hassan Askari al-Islam. And where did Imam have the time to give this tafsir? Of just these two chapters. You end up, when you read history, you end up realizing that Imam was under house arrest. If you look at history, forget history of the Imams. If you look at our own history, when I say our own American history, you see that a lot of people that have gone to jail, they've written great books. In Shia history, for example, Shahid Awal, he wrote a book in jail in just a week. And that book was called Lumatul Damishqiyya. And that book of Luma is still being taught in the Hawza today. You cannot even become a mujtahid without reading that book. And he wrote that book in 7 days. Maybe the youngsters, they don't know who that is. That's fine. Even the elders, maybe they might not know who Shahid Awal is. But the ones that know, or the ones that have lived in America, I'm sure they've heard of Malcolm X. Malcolm X, what did he do? He wrote a book while he was in jail. And because of that book, other people became Muslim. What happens when you're in jail? You look at the Imams that were in jail their whole life, or part of their life. What did they all do? Did they waste time? No. What were they doing? The Imams, they were constantly worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They never wasted a single second of their life when it came to the worship of Allah. It didn't matter where they were. If they were at home, they worshipped Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If they were in prison, they worshipped Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Imams and worship was never two separate things, they were just one and the same. One and the same. To the point where when it came to the worship of the 11th Imam, the narrations say that after, from house arrest, when he was taken to the prison of the palace, he went in there healthy. But by the time that he was shaheed, they say that he looked frail and he was very skinny. Why? Because the narrations, the history books, they say that he was only given 2 loaves of bread a day. That's it. That's it. Only 2 loaves of bread. Can you imagine living off 2 loaves of bread? Not just that, but the 11th Imam, the types of soldiers that were to punish the Imam, they say that the Abbasi Khalifa at that time, he had gotten people from Turkey just so they could punish the Imam. But when these individuals came and they saw that the Imam, he would pray at night and he would fast in the daytime, they gravitated towards the Imam. Through what? Through the acts of the Imam, through the action of the Imam, through the ibadat of the Imam. Because of that ibadat, they gravitated towards the Imam. They were there to punish the Imam, but because of the Imam's akhlaq, because of the Imam's iman, what did they do? They never punished them. When they never punished them, someone came and complained to the Khalifa. They said that no one is punishing him. He's free. He's doing whatever he wants in the jail. No one is punishing. There's no mark on him. The Khalifa, he said, what is this? He comes to the head guard. He comes to the person who was in charge of the jail and he tells him, what is this? Why isn't he being punished? He goes, what can I do? These 2 individuals were known to be the most vile, the most ignorant, and these 2 individuals were to be the most cruel. But they themselves were gravitating towards them. What can I do? This was the akhlaq of the Imam. The akhlaq of the Imam, the narration state that some of the Shias, when they would come and see the Imam, one time an individual, he brought pomegranates. And he gave it to the guard to give to the Imam. There were 4 pomegranates. The guard, he gives to the Imam, and Imam, he just leaves them in his cell. And when he leaves them in the cell, he sees that the guard is looking at the pomegranates. The Imam, he goes, you keep looking at the pomegranates, go take one. And the guard, he says, no, I'm not going to, it's fine, those are for you, I'm not going to touch it. The Imam goes, no, it's fine, you can take one. So the guard takes one. When he takes one, then the Imam catches him again, constantly looking at the pomegranates. He goes, what's wrong? Do you want another one? Maybe you have some family at home. Maybe you have some family at home. The guard, he goes, Ibn Rasulullah, it's fine. He goes, then why aren't you eating this? No, it's fine. That's when Imam says, maybe you have family at home. And that's when the man, he says, Ibn Rasulullah, I do have children at home. I'm saving this pomegranate so I can take it home and give it to them. The Imam, he goes, you don't need to save it. Eat that pomegranate yourself. These 3 you can take home and give it to them. This is the akhlaq of the Imam. This is the akhlaq that brings people towards the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. This knowledge. When you have knowledge, you end up practicing it. What does the 6th Imam say about what true knowledge is? True knowledge is information that is practiced. Information that is implemented. Meaning what? It's not just information that you store up here. No, you have to implement that. Then you can say that you actually have true knowledge. Then you can say that you're actually an alim of whatever you're an alim of. If you just store it and not act upon it, then no. When you look at the life of Imam Hassan al-Islam, he's the one who gave us the signs of a mu'min. We all know about the 5 signs of the mu'min. Right? When the Imam, he says, look, if you want to know who the Shias are, if you want to know who our true Shias are, look for these 5 signs. And they ask him, Ya Ibn Rasulullah, what are the 5 signs of a mu'min? He goes, the first sign is that when it comes to prayer, it's not that they just do 17 units of prayer. No, when it comes to prayer, they do 51 rakat of prayer. 51. It's difficult for us to even do 17. It's difficult for us to do even a day's worth. The wajibat prayers. And the Imam, he says that, look, one of the signs of a mu'min, one of the signs of our Shia, is that it's not just that they're happy with doing the wajibat. No, they do the mustahabat too. They do the musabbat too. He goes, another sign of a mu'min is that you'll see that they're wearing a ring on the right finger or right hand. Aqiq on the right hand. Another sign of a mu'min, he goes, you see that they do sajda on Turbat Abu Abdullah al-Husayn al-Islam. Another sign of a mu'min, you see that they do ziyarat of Arba'in of Imam Hussain al-Islam. Another sign of a mu'min, you see that they recite Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim out loud. 5 signs of a mu'min. From whom? Imam Hassan Askari al-Islam. And when it comes to this Imam, I said I was going to talk about some of the miracles of Imam. In his time period, there happened to be a drought. And when there was this drought, the Muslims, they went out and they did the prayer for rain. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, there was no answer, there was no rain. When all the Muslims, they gathered together, they went out, there was no rain. The 4th day, there was a Christian monk who went to the Khalifa and he says, do you mind if I go out and I pray for rain? He goes, no, go ahead. As soon as he puts up his hands and he starts praying for rain, the clouds, they start to gather and rain comes. Rain starts to fall. When it starts to fall, that's when the Muslims, they started questioning, hold on a second, are we on the right path? Are we on the right path? The only ones that were truly questioning their iman were those people that did not have an imam with them, that did not know what imamat was. But the Muslims, they started questioning, how is it that we claim to be that we're on the path, the right path, yet when this Christian, he raises his hand for prayers, there's rain that comes. The Khalifa at that time, he went to Imam Hassan Askari, who was in jail. And he goes, Ya Ibn Rasulullah, you have to defend your grandfather's religion. Come out and defend your grandfather's religion. Imam, he goes, what happened? And he tells them, for 3 days the Muslims were out there, they're praying for rain, there was no rain. But this Christian monk, he comes, he prays for rain, and as soon as he raised up his hands, there was rain. Imam, he goes, okay, I'll come. I'll come, but under one condition. The Khalifa goes, what? Have one of your soldiers with me. When I tell him to do something, he goes and he does it. The Khalifa goes, no problem. The Imam, he comes. When he comes, he tells the Christian, pray for rain. When he prays for rain, the Imam, he sees that the Christian, he has one hand open up to the sky and one hand closed. The Imam, he looks at that soldier, he goes, he has something in that hand of his that he has closed, go bring it to me. The soldier, he goes and he brings whatever it was in that hand and he gives it to the Imam. The Imam, he covers it up and he puts it to the side. When he puts it to the side, he tells the man, pray again. Pray again. The clouds had just formed. The rain had not started, the clouds had just formed. He tells the Imam, he tells the man, now I want you to pray. When he raises his hands up, there was nothing that came down. Even the clouds that had formed, they start to leave. They start to disappear. When they start to disappear, and when they were completely gone, that's when the Imam, he starts to raise his hand. And as soon as he raised his hand, that's when the clouds, they formed again and it started to rain. That's when the Khalifa, he asked him, Ya Ibn Rasulullah, what is this qissa? What is this? He prayed before it happened, but now it didn't. He goes, at that time when he was praying, he had found the bone of a previous prophet, and he was using that bone in one hand, and whenever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees that one of the bones of the prophets are unearthed, the barakat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starts to descend on this earth. And because this man had one of the bones of a previous prophet in his hand, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would make it rain. As soon as I took that bone away from him, you see that there's no rain. The rain wasn't coming because he was on the right path. The rain was coming, why? Because of the bone of a prophet. Think about this. Think about this. That bone was being used as what? Wasila. Thank you so much. That bone was being used as a wasila to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That bone was being used as a wasila for rain, for barakah. Yet Muslims, they have a problem with us. If the bone of a previous prophet can be used as a wasila, what's the problem if we use the existence of a prophet as wasila? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. That was just a bone. Look at the power that bone has, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He Himself, He starts to bless this world, bless this earth with what? Rain. Imam Hassan Askari alayhi Islam. Miracle of Imam Hassan. Another miracle of Imam Hassan Askari alayhi Islam. When it comes to his miracles, he had one companion. There was one companion of Imam who wasn't even Muslim. Forget Shia, he wasn't even Muslim. And this man, he comes to the Imam, and the Imam, he goes to him and he says to him, his name, Sallallahu Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. His name was, I believe it was either Yaqub or Nu. And he says to him that those people that say, this is something for everyone to remember, those people that say that if you're not one of our believers, if you're not one of our followers, those people that say that if you're not one of our followers and you don't have any love for us and you're not on the right path, then you will not benefit one bit. He tells him that, Yaqub, those people are liars. Even though you're a Christian, but because of the love that you have in your heart for me, you will benefit from this love. Even though you're a Christian, because of the love that you have in your heart for me, you will benefit from this love. And he goes, Yabna Rasulullah, how will I benefit? He goes, you will die as a Christian. You'll die as a Christian. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you a son who will become a Shia. And through him you will benefit. Through him you will benefit. The love of the Ahlul Bayt. You don't need to be Shia. As long as you don't have hatred for the Ahlul Bayt and you have love for the Ahlul Bayt, an individual will benefit. Either in this world or in the next world. That's what Imam Hassan Askari alayhi salam teaches us. When it comes to the life of Imam Hassan Askari alayhi salam, I said what? 28 years he lived. 28 years. 5 years of Imamat. That's it. 5 years of Imamat. From the age of 22, he was Imam. From the age of 22 to 28, he was Imam. The time that he spent in jail, you see that Imam, he did, in those 5 years, he did more than what you and I do in a whole lifetime. He did more than what you and I do in a lifetime. Even though he was in jail, he turned that jail into what? A place of worship. Even though he was in jail, he turned that jail into a place of worship. You and I, what do? We'll try every excuse, or we'll find every excuse not to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As many excuses as we can find. For example, we're traveling. Oh, you know what? I'm traveling. I'll just pray my salat. I'll pray my salat qaza. You're traveling for something mustahab, yet you're committing something haram. You're committing something haram. This is something for everyone to think about. A lot of us, me included, sometimes it happens. For example, we go for ziyarat. 14-hour trip, 15-hour plane ride. Correct or no? 16 hours, whatever the case is. In those 16 hours, what happens? Prayer is being qaza. The ziyarat of Imam Hussein is mustahab. And yes, mustahab ta'keed. To the fact that with the narrations, they say that if you are well off, if the society thinks that you're well off, or you're considered to be well off, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, he says that you should go for ziyarat of my grandfather Abu Abdullah Hussein alayhi salam at least twice a year. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Muhammad. If you're considered to be well off, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, he said that you should go for ziyarat of my grandfather twice a year. If you're considered to be poor, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, you should still go for ziyarat one time a year. One time. Do not leave the ziyarat. Imam Sadiq, do not leave the ziyarat of my grandfather. Why? He goes on to say that the more you go for a ziyarat, the more of your sins are continually forgiven. The more of your sins continue to be forgiven. And you see that Imam Hussein al-Islam, the status that Imam Hussein al-Islam has in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the turba of Karbala. A lot of people ask, even the Shias, they ask, why can't we do sajda on turba from Najaf? Why can't we do sajda on turba from Kazmain? Why can't we do sajda on turba from Samara? Or hatta, why can't we do sajda on turba from Medina? You could, there's no problem with that. There's no problem with that. In the time of Imam Musa Kazim al-Islam, the Imam, he's walking with one of his companions, and he tells the companion that soon I will be buried right here. I will be buried right here. The companion, when he hears this from the mouth of the Imam, what does he do? He takes some of the dirt from that area and he swallows it. He takes some of the dirt from that area and he swallows it. The Imam, he goes, why did you do that? He goes, Ya Rasulullah, you're going to be buried here. I did it for shifa. Imam Musa Kazim al-Islam, he says that know that dirt is, that shifa that you're speaking about only and only exists in the dirt of Karbala. That shifa does not exist, not even in my dirt. It doesn't exist in the dirt of the Holy Prophet, nor Amir al-Mu'mineen, nor this here in Kazmin, nor in Samar. No. That shifa that you speak of, it is only and only for the dirt of Karbala. This phrase, Kullu Yawmin Ashura, Kullu Arzin Karbala. It's a phrase. This is not a hadith. This is not a hadith. And this phrase, it gets misinterpreted and it gets used and abused. Kullu Yawmin Ashura. Every day is Ashura. How can every day be Ashura? How is every day Ashura? What do I mean? When Imam Hassan al-Islam, when he was, after he drank the poison, Imam Hussein al-Islam, he comes and he cries. When he cries, what does Imam Hassan al-Islam say? He says, La yawm ka yawmaka ya Aba Abdullah. There is no day like your day, ya Aba Abdullah. There is no day like your day. If there's no day like the day of Ashur, then how is it kullu yawmin Ashura? Even the day that Imam Hassan al-Islam, even the day that he's being shaheed, the day that he's leaving this world, even that day is not the same as the day of Ashur. So how are every other day is like the day of Ashur? Kullu arzin Karbala. Every land is Karbala. This is why I say that this is not a hadith. This was a saying by an alim. That was it. Kullu arzin Karbala. Every land is Karbala. When Kazmain is not the equivalent of Karbala. When the place where Imam Musa Kazim al-Islam, when that place where he's buried is not the equivalent of Karbala, then how is this land of America like Karbala? How's the land of Pakistan like Karbala? How's the land of India like Karbala? This is why when this phrase is said, it's supposed to be said in only a specific manner. That's it. But what's ended up happening is that people have used it for wherever they see fit. Wherever they see fit. And this is why everywhere I go, I let the youngsters know that, look, this phrase, it's not a hadith. It's not a hadith. It's a saying by an alim. Find out how and in what instance that alim used that phrase. Don't try to put that phrase and attach it to everything. Why? Because that phrase itself, it has a lot of contradictions to it when it comes to Shia Aqidah. Understand why he said it, understand when he said it, understand for what reason it was said. When it comes to this Imam of ours, and this is where I'm going to end this lecture, when it comes to the 11th Imam, his son was how old when Imam Hassan Askari passed away? Imam Zaman, the narrations, they say that Imam Zaman he was only 5 years old. That's it. 5 years old. But you have to remember that when Imam Hassan Askari passed away, there was no one who slapped Imam Zaman al-Islam to prevent him from crying over his father. You have to remember that when Imam Hassan Askari al-Islam passed away, his body did not lay out in the desert for 3 days. Sallallahu alayka ya Rasulallah. Sallallahu alayka ya Amir al-Mu'mineen. Sallallahu alayki ya Siddiqatu Fatima. Sallallahu alayka ya Hasan al-Mujtaba. Sallallahu alayka ya Gharib al-Ghuraba. Ya Aba Abdullah al-Hussein. Ya Hussein. Brothers, sisters, one of the companions of the 11th Imam, they come to the 11th Imam and they want to ask him some questions, and they give him some letters that they brought from the Shias. And the 11th Imam, he tells this companion that I want you to go back, take these answers, and I want you to go back and give them to the Shias. But when you come back by this time next week, you'll see and you'll hear from the streets that they're calling my name, and they'll be saying that I've been martyred. The narrations, they say that this companion, when he hears this, he tells the Imam, Yabna Rasulullah, then how will I know who the Imam is to be? And he tells him that you'll know that who the Imam is because the Imam after me, he's the one who will lead my prayers. You'll know who the Imam is. How will you know? You'll know because he'll know that what the letters that you bring, he'll know what the questions are, he'll know how many letters you have, he'll know exactly how much money you're bringing with you. This man, when he leaves the Imam, by the time he comes back, he hears that in the streets they're yelling that Yabna Rasulullah has been killed. They're calling out that Hassan Askari al-Islam, he's been killed. Now he wants to know who the Imam is. When he sees that who the Imam is, when he sees the 11th Imam, his body, he sees that Jafar, he's trying to lead the prayers. But as soon as he tries to lead the prayers, he sees that this 5-year-old boy, he comes and he moves his uncle aside and he says to him, oh uncle, I have more right to read this namaz al-janazah than you do. This 5-year-old boy, he recites the salat and then he leaves. When he leaves, then that's when this man, he understands that that is the Imam of the time. Ya Imam Zaman, you were 5 years old. If you go to Karbala, you see that your auntie, she was also 5 years old. They let you read the namaz al-janazah of your father. Ya Imam Zaman, you were 5 years old. After you left, you were able to cry over your father. Ya Imam Zaman, there was no one to slap you. Ya Imam Zaman, there was no one to abuse you. When you go to Karbala, you see Sakina. Whenever she would say Hussein, she would get slapped. Whenever she would say Abbas, she would get slapped. You see Sakina, that she went this way, where from Karbala to Kufa. From Kufa, she goes to Sham. That's where in Sham she continues to ask her auntie, oh auntie dear, when will we go back? When will we be able to go back home? And it was this Sakina who was never able to go back to Medina. When the caravan of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein al-Islam, when they were released, Lady Zainab, she says, Ya Sajjad, can you tell Yazid that we have one wish? Then that's what Imam Zain al-Abidin, he says, oh auntie dear, what is the wish? She says to him, oh Sajjad, there's an amanat of my brother Hussein, we left in the Zindan. I want to go to that Zindan, I want to go get that amanat. That's what Imam Zain al-Abidin says, Yazid, we want to go back to the Zindan. When they go back to the Zindan, that's when the narration said that Lady Zainab, she goes and she puts herself over the grave of Sakina and she says to her, oh Sakina, come with us, we're ready to go home. You always wanted to go home. The narrations, they said that Imam Zain al-Abidin, he starts to cry, that he puts himself over the grave of Sakina and he says, oh sister dear, when you wanted to go home, I couldn't hold you. My hands were tied. Now my hands are open. Please come with me. We're ready to go home. I'll take you home. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Wal-la'natullah ala qawm al-kafirin. Matam Hussein.
Ya Hussein, 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 Hussein al-Gharib al-Gharib al-Hussein, Hussein al-Shaheed al-Shaheed al-Hussein, Hussein al-Gharib al-Gharib al-Hussein, Hussein al-Shaheed al-Shaheed al-Hussein. دہائی دہائی خدارا دہائی یہ دشت بلا میں ہے کیسی تباہی بہایا ہے کس نے یہ خون محمد قیامت یہ ڈھائی ہے کس نے الہی جوانوں بزرگوں کو مارا گیا ہے شہیدوں میں شامل ہے ننھا سپاہی حسین
الغریب الغریب الحسین حسین الشہید الشہید الحسین حسین الغریب الغریب الحسین حسین الشہید الشہید
الحسین کیا جشن برپا یوں اہل حوث نے شہیدوں کے لاشوں پہ ڈنکے بجائے جلا ڈالے آل محمد کے خیمے سکینہ کے منہ پر تماچے لگائے جو بیمار تھا اس کا بستر نہ چھوڑا نبی زادیوں پہ بھی درے چلائے حسین
الغریب الغریب الحسین حسین الشہید الشہید
الحسین اٹھی اپنی مرکز سے بنت محمد سے عاشق کی چادر میں چہرہ چھپا کر گئی کربلا میں تو اس نے یہ دیکھا ہے بوسیدہ کرتے میں ایک لاش بے سر بدن سارا تیروں سے چھلنی پڑا ہے لہو میں ہے ڈوبا ہوا سارا پیکر حسین الغریب
الغریب الحسین حسین الشہید الشہید الحسین
تڑپ کر وہ چلائی شبیر بیٹا لہو میں نہائے اسر بھی جدا ہے تبر کس نے مارے سارے بدن پہ یہ تیروں پہ کس نے جنازہ رکھا ہے کہاں ہے میرا لال عباس بولو میں پوچھوں گی اس سے یہ کیسے ہوا ہے
حسین الغریب الغریب الحسین حسین الشہید الشہید الحسین
صدا سن کے زہرا کی تھرائے غازی جدا تن سے سر تھا تو شانے کٹے تھے غمو یاس و حسرت میں مجروح و مستر کہیں کے دریا کے کنارے پڑے تھے سبے لقمہ اب جو بی نے دیکھا وفاؤں کے ساحل پہ جھنڈے گڑے تھے
حسین الغریب الغریب الحسین حسین الشہید الشہید الحسین
ادھر درد و غم کی ستائی تھی زینب جو وحشت کے جنگل میں حیدر بنی تھی کبھی خاک اٹھاتی کبھی عشق پیتی جو کمبے کے پہرے پہ تنہا کھڑی تھی سکینہ کے سکا کو آواز دے کر ہمیشہ شاہدی میں بکا کر رہی تھی
حسین الغریب الغریب الحسین حسین الشہید الشہید الحسین
کبھی دل میں دیتی وہ ماں کو صدائیں کبھی رو کے کہتی کہ بابا کہاں ہو. شہیدوں کا نوحہ تھا اس کی زباں پر، اگر کس طرح اس کے غم کا بیاں ہو. ہمیں بھی سعادت و نصرت کی حاصل، خدا را ظہور امام زمان ہو. حسین الغریب الغریب الحسین، حسین الشہید الشہید الحسین، حسین الغریب الغریب الحسین، حسین الشہید الشہید الحسین. یا حسین 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 یا حسین.
الوداع 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 اے حسین، الوداع 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 اے حسین، الوداع 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 اے حسین،
الوداع 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 اے حسین.
یہ صدائے فغاں اور یہ مجلس ہے،
یہ صدائے فغاں اور یہ مجلس ہے.
ماتم و نوحہ اور غم کے یہ زینت ہے،
ماتم و نوحہ اور غم کی یہ زینت ہے.
چاہتا ہے یہ دل یوں ہی قائم رہے،
چاہتا ہے یہ دل یوں ہی قائم رہے.
آہ پتا ہے دل کس طرح یہ کہے، الوداع
الوداع الوداع اے حسین،
الوداع
الوداع الوداع اے حسین.
میرے مہمان ہے آخری سلام،
مہمان ہے آخری سلام.
تجھ پہ قربان ہے آخری سلام،
تجھ پہ قربان ہے آخری سلام.
شاہ ذی شان ہے آخری سلام،
کی شان ہے آخری سلام.
دل ہے ویران ہے آخری سلام، الوداع
الوداع الوداع اے حسین، الوداع 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 اے حسین.
بخش دے ہو گئی ہو جو کوئی خطا،
ہو گئی ہو جو کوئی خطا.
حق کی خدمت نہ ہم سے ادا ہو سکا،
حق کی خدمت نہ ہم سے ادا ہو سکا.
غم یہی ہے نہ جی بھر کے ماتم کیا،
ہم یہی ہے نہ جی بھر کے ماتم کیا.
تیری خاطر نہ کیوں اپنا سر دے دیا،
الوداع 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 اے حسین، الوداع 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 اے حسین.
گرجیے سال بھر پھر کریں گے یہ کام،
یہ سال بھر پھر کریں گے یہ کام.
روئیں گے پھر تیرے غم میں مل کر بہار،
روئیں گے تیرے غم میں مل کر بہار.
اور اگر مر گئے تو یہ ہوگا
اور
لام،
اگر مر گئے تو یہ ہوگا رام.
ہائے افسوس جی بھر کے روئے نا،
الوداع 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 اے حسین، الوداع 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 اے حسین.
الوداع حسین
الوداع اے حسین الوداع
الوداع شہ مشرقین الوداع
الوداع شہید مشرقین الوداع
بنت احمد کے نورین الوداع
بنت احمد کے نورین الوداع
ہے مجاہد کے لب پر یہ بین الوداع
الوداع الوداع الوداع اے حسین الوداع 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 اے حسین
اب تک ہے زبانوں پہ علمدار علمدار
عباس علمدار عباس علمدار
اب تک ہے زبانوں پہ علمدار علمدار
عباس علمدار عباس علمدار
اب تک ہے زبانوں پہ علمدار علمدار
عباس علمدار عباس علمدار
مشیز اچدالو کہ تو گھر نہیں آیا
عباس علمدار عباس علمدار
ہے شان سے بابا کا علم تو نے اٹھایا
عباس علمدار عباس علمدار
اے شیر جوائے بسر حیدر کرار
عباس علمدار عباس علمدار
اب تک زبانوں پہ علمدار علمدار
عباس علمدار عباس علمدار
اب تک زبانوں پہ علمدار علمدار
عباس علمدار آل محمد صلوات
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك يا رسول الله. السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا صديقة فاطمة الزهراء سيدة النساء العالمين. السلام عليك يا مولانا يا حسن المجتبى. السلام عليك يا مولانا يا غريب الغرباء. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. السلام عليك يا مولانا يا علي بن الحسين. السلام عليك يا مولانا يا محمد بن علي. السلام عليك يا مولانا يا جعفر بن محمد. السلام عليك يا مولانا يا موسى بن جعفر. السلام عليك يا مولانا يا علي بن موسى. السلام عليك يا مولانا يا محمد بن علي. السلام عليك يا مولانا يا علي بن محمد. السلام عليك يا مولانا يا حسن بن علي. السلام عليك يا مولانا يا صاحب العصر الزمان. علمان 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 من الفتن الزمان. عجل الله تعالى فرجك وظهورك وجعلنا من أنصارك ورحمة الله وبركاته. اللهم صل على. Please, brothers and sisters, recite Dua Sihat for the father of Sister Filza Zaidi, Amayujibu. Dua Sihat 5 times, please. Amayujibu. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. عما يجيب مضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. عما يجيب مضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. عما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. عما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. عما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. Ya Allah, بحق محمد وعلى محمد. Ya Allah, I ask you, by that individual whose shahadat that we're commemorating tonight, please give shifa to this individual who is the father of Sister Filza Zaidi, Sayyid Abid Ali Zaidi. And then Surah Al-Fatiha for Agha Wasi Qasim, Kazalbash. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta alaihim ghayril maghdubi alaihim waladdallin. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. اللهم اغفر لنا اللهم صل على محمد.
اللهم كل وليك الحجة بن حسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى كشفنه أرزك توا وتوته فيها تبيلا برحمتك يا جاء أرحم الراحمين.
Eid Zehra tomorrow at 7:30 p.m.
John could have dinner first.